The Sealed Book. Once again, the keeper of the book has opened the ponderous door to the secret vault, wherein is kept the great sealed book, in which is recorded all the secrets and mysteries of mankind through the ages. Here are tales of every kind, tales of murder, of madness, of dark deeds strange and terrible beyond all belief. Keeper of the book, I would know what tale we tell this time. Open the great book and let us read. Slowly, the great book opened. One by one, the keeper of the book turns the pages and stops. Ah, the strange story of a cursed and evil spirit, a spirit that threatened the peace and happiness of a young married couple. A tale called Stranger in the House. Here is the tale, Stranger in the House, as it is written on the pages of the sealed book. The tale was told by Jane Barton herself.
From the first moment I saw Wickford Manor, I was filled with a sense of uneasiness, almost fear, a fear I couldn't explain. To all outward appearances, Wickford Manor was just another old, staunchly built colonial house, the kind you see through all New England. Roger, my husband, was delighted with the house. Its beauty and remoteness won his heart from the beginning.
Say, take a look at that beautiful staircase. Look at this magnificent fireplace in the drawing room.
Yes, it is beautiful, Roger.
It's just the size house we need, with 4 rooms upstairs.
4 rooms upstairs? How do you know, Roger? The agent never mentioned how many rooms the house had.
Didn't he? Well, there's only one way to find out. Let's go upstairs and look. Come on, Janie.
All right, Roger.
Yeah, this house would require very little in the way of repairs.
But it hasn't any electricity, Roger.
Oh, well, we could use lamps until a line could be run to the house. Look, Janie, there are 4 rooms up here.
So there are. It's as though you've been in this house before.
Yes, I have a feeling I have. Well, perhaps that's the reason I like it. But, darling, you've been ever so quiet since we entered the house. Don't you care for it?
I don't know. It seems unfriendly.
Well, if you don't like it, then we'll keep on looking until we find a house we both like.
Oh, nonsense. I've been married to you too long not to know you've got your heart set on this place. We'll never find anything nicer. Now, that room with the southern exposure will be our bedroom.
Oh, Janie, you're wonderful. And we will be happy here. I know we will.
Because I loved Roger and wanted to see him happy, I buried my fears and agreed to the purchase of the house. The first evening in our new home, as I went about the drawing room unpacking our belongings, I suddenly realized how cold and clammy the room was in spite of the roaring fire. Beyond the feeble light of the oil lamp, the room was thick with fog. Suddenly it seemed to engulf me like a shroud, and I felt the icy coldness of the grave upon me. My heart pounded in my ears. I felt faint. After what seemed like eternity, the fog rolled away. The light of the lamp became brighter. I felt unbearably alone. I rushed out of the drawing room. As I opened the door to the study, I saw Roger seated before the fireplace. He was staring unseeingly at the ashes of a fire long since gone out. Roger. Roger. Roger!
What? Oh, it's you, Jane.
Roger, is anything wrong?
Wrong?
Yes, you seem so far away, remote. It frightened me. Do you smell perfume in here?
Perfume? Why, yes. It's the perfume I gave you for your birthday, isn't it?
No. No, it isn't my perfume. It smells like narcissus.
Yes, so it does.
How strange. Roger, what were you thinking of when I came in here?
Why, I don't know. My mind was reaching out for something. Something in the past. But it was also confused. It was as if I were wandering in a fog.
Wandering in a fog?
Yes. Well, Jane, you're so pale. Aren't you feeling well?
I'm just tired. It's been rather a tiring day.
Now, you go up to bed, Jane. I'll be along later.
All right, dear. Don't forget to turn out the lamp when you come up.
I won't.
I left the study and Roger. After tossing in my bed for hours, I fell into a fitful sleep. I suddenly awakened to hear the clock in the hall striking the hour. It was 5 o'clock, and Roger's bed was empty. Quickly slipping on my robe, I left my room and started down the stairs. As I reached the foot of the stairs, I stopped. But to my astonishment, I heard Roger's voice in the study. I slowly approached until I was at the door.
Who are you? This mist. If I could only make you out clearer. So difficult. The mist obscures your face. Who are you? Why don't you say something?
Roger! Roger! Unlock the door! It's Jane!
What's wrong? The mist, it's coming between us. I can hardly see you. Oh, don't go. Come back, please. Please come back.
Darling! Darling, please unlock this door. Please! Roger!
now back to the story as it is written in the sealed book. It was 5 o'clock in the morning when Jane suddenly woke and found Roger locked in his study. He was apparently talking to someone, although there could be no one there. Hysterically, Jane pounded on the study door.
Darling, unlock the door, please. Roger! Oh, Roger.
What is it, Jane?
I was so frightened. Who are you talking to?
Talking to? I don't know. I must have been dreaming.
Oh, yes. Yes, you must have been. There isn't anyone in here. Roger, the scent of narcissus. So strong in here.
Yes.
Much stronger than it was at midnight. Roger, what were you dreaming about?
It was night. All around me was a mist. And there was a woman.
A woman?
Yes. I could barely make out her face in the swirling mists. But it was a beautiful face. The most beautiful face I've ever seen.
Did you feel you'd seen her before?
Yes. I couldn't remember where.
Oh, what do you make of it, Roger?
Make of it? Oh, it was just a dream, I suppose. What else could it have been?
Roger said it was a dream. But in his heart I knew he believed it was more than a dream. During the days that followed, he'd pace incessantly in the study, paying no attention to me, living only for the coming of twilight. And when night did fall, he'd lock himself in the study, forbidding me to disturb him. Hours would pass, and then suddenly I'd hear him talking to her, begging her to come closer, pleading with her to speak to him. At last one night I couldn't stand it any longer. When he began talking to her, I knocked on the door of the study until he opened it.
What do you want? I thought I told you I wasn't to be disturbed.
I must talk
you
to you.
You fool! She was about to speak to me for the first time. And you knocked on the door and caused her to vanish.
Oh, Roger, you're not in love with her. You couldn't be.
But I am. There's never a moment I don't think of her. Wish that I might see her.
Oh, what you're saying is madness. You can't be in love with her. She's from another world, a phantom, an evil ghost.
No, she isn't evil. She's beautiful. So beautiful I'd give my life for her.
Roger, listen to me. You must come away from this house and from her. She's cast a spell over you, and it can only lead to disaster. Roger, we must leave this house at once.
No, never.
I insist.
Get out, do you hear? And don't come back. I'll never leave her, never.
Dr. Smith, in view of what I've told you, do you think you can help me?
Now, you say, Mrs. Barton, that when you drove out to Wickford Manor for the first time, your husband seemed to recognize the house?
Certain things about it, yes.
There's a history to Wickford Manor, though few people are familiar with it.
A history to Wickford Manor?
Yes. The house was built in 1811 by Martin Wickford for his bride, Harriet. A year later, Harriet's sister Isabel came to live with the Wickfords. She was a remarkably beautiful woman, so beautiful that Martin Wickford fell in love with her, and she with him.
Then what happened?
Well, one day, while Martin was hunting in the mountains, he was killed in a fall. When his companions brought his body back to Wickford Manor, they found Harriet, his wife, dead. She'd been poisoned.
Poisoned?
Yes. At the sight of Martin's body, Isabel went to pieces and confessed that she had poisoned her sister. Before she could be arrested, she committed suicide in the study.
In the study?
Yes. In the years that followed the tragedy, Wickford Manor had a succession of tenants, all of whom left after a brief residence.
You mean they saw her, too?
Well, the tenants made no claim of seeing anyone, but their fear of an unknown element in the house led them to leave.
If the other tenants never saw her, why should Roger see her?
Mrs. Barton, you said that your husband seemed to know many things beforehand about the house.
Yes, I recall joking with him about it. I said it was as though he'd been there before.
Perhaps he had, long ago, as another person.
As another person?
Yes.
You mean Roger had once known Wickford Manor in some previous life?
How else do you account for his remembrance of things that he'd never seen in this life?
Oh, you're trying to tell me something, Doctor. What is it?
Perhaps your husband and the spirit of the woman Isabel are able to bridge the gap of time and space, because they had once known each other in another life.
Doctor, you don't believe that Roger was Martin Wickford?
I don't know. What is happening at Wickford Manor is beyond the knowledge of the living. But this I do know. We must return to the manor at once, for the spirit that's abroad in the house is one to be feared more than death itself.
Please come closer so I can see you better. Oh, you're beautiful. Beautiful. Won't you tell me who you are? We have met before, haven't we?
Yes. We've met before.
What? You spoke.
I've waited so long for you, Martin.
Why do you call me Martin? My name's Roger.
It was Martin. Then.
Then? What do you mean?
Look at me, Martin. Look into my eyes. Don't you remember me?
Yes, but where?
Think, Martin. Think. Time is the barrier between us, but we shall surmount it. Think back into the dim past when you lived in this house and we loved each other.
Isabel. Isabel!
Yes, Martin. Isabel. Do you remember now?
Yes, Isabel, yes. I remember everything up to the day I went hunting in the mountains and fell. What happened to me, Isabel? What happened to us? To our love?
Don't think of that accursed day, darling, but think of the future. Our happiness together.
Oh, yes, Isabel. Our happiness together.
Roger. Roger, please open this door. Roger!
Martin, she's come back.
Yes. Darling, don't go. Don't leave me.
I must, Martin. I must. We could be so happy together.
Come back. Please come back.
Roger, please unlock this door, please.
What do you want? What did you come for?
Roger, this is Dr. Smith. Doctor, this is my husband.
What the devil did you bring him here for?
Roger, please. I thought perhaps he could help us.
Help us? I don't need anybody's help.
I must warn you, Mr. Barton. The spirit of the woman you see in the study is an evil one that will lead you to disaster.
I don't need help from you or anybody else. I'll get out of this house. Get out, both of you.
Doctor, we must do something. We must.
We shall, but not tonight. I must have time to think about it. You'd better return to the village with me.
No, I don't want to leave him in the house alone. Something might happen to him.
Very well, then. I'll return late tomorrow afternoon, and when I do, we shall take action.
Isabel. Isabel, where are you? I'm alone now, darling. Please come back.
I'm here, Martin. I'm here.
Oh, yes, I see you now. Promise you'll never leave me again, Isabel.
I don't want to leave you, darling. But that woman is trying to come between us.
Jane?
Yes. She hates me, Martin. She will come between us if you don't get rid of her.
I tried to make her leave, but she wouldn't go.
Then that leaves only one thing to do.
One thing to do?
Yes. Come. We must hurry. It's almost dawn, and I'll have to leave you soon. Look at her, lying there asleep, so defenseless. Yes. Go ahead. Put your hands around her throat and squeeze.
Oh.
Hurry, Martin, before she awakens.
Who's there?
Answer her.
It's Roger.
Oh, for a moment I was so frightened. What time is it?
It's just dawn.
Hurry, Martin, I must leave.
Yes.
Roger. Roger, why are you looking at me like that? Oh, no, Roger.
Tighter, Martin. Tighter until she stops struggling and is still forever.
Isabel, don't leave me. Isabel, where are you?
Isabel, please don't leave me, Isabel!
Roger, she made you do it, didn't she? Oh, Roger, Roger.
And now to continue the story as it is written in the sealed book. As Jane finished describing to the doctor how Roger, urged on by the sinister spirit he called Isabel, had nearly strangled her, the doctor spoke.
And then, Mrs. Barton, you say your husband stopped choking you and ran out of your room and down to the study?
Yes, Dr. Smith.
Oh, I should have known better than to let you remain in this house last night. Don't you see? This Isabel knows that if he murders you, he will then join her cursed spirit forever in this house.
Oh, look. Look, it's growing dark out. Soon she'll appear to bewitch him again. Doctor, we must do something.
Very well. This woman, Isabel, has been denied the peace of the grave because her sister's blood is on her hands. She belongs neither to the living or the dead, only to this house. If we could get your husband to leave, perhaps it would break the spell she's cast over him.
Yes, but he absolutely refuses to leave.
Then we must force him to. I could very quickly give him a hypodermic and render him unconscious.
Yes. Then we could carry him away.
And to make sure he never returns to this house, we must burn it to the ground before we leave.
Yes, we will burn it. And the evil that's in it.
Then if you'll lead me to the study.
All right, Doctor. Have you the hypodermic ready?
Yes. Now, when your husband opens the door, just gain his attention for a moment. Long enough for me to give him the injection.
Yes, very well. Roger. Roger, open the door. I want to talk to you.
What do you want? Why has he come back to this house?
He's come to take me away, Roger.
To take you away? Good. I'm glad to see you. What have you stuck me with? What's that in your hand?
Just a hypodermic, Mr. Barton.
A hypodermic? What are you up to? You're trying to take me away from this house. From her. Well, I won't go. I won't go. Do you hear? You'll...
Oh, Doctor, quick, quick, he's falling.
I've got him, Mrs. Barton. Now I suggest you take that lamp and smash it on the floor.
Yes. Let's burn the place down to the ground.
Yeah, that's it. Now you'd better help me carry your husband out of the house. In a little while, this house will be a raging inferno. He's regaining consciousness, Mrs. Barton.
Will he remember what's happened?
I don't know.
How are you, darling?
Hello, Janie. Oh, but I had a terrible dream. I'm so confused.
You've been very ill, but now you're going to be all right.
Of course.
Oh. Where am I?
You're in my home, Mr. Barton.
Yes, darling. Our house burned down last night.
Burned down? Oh, that's too bad. Well, we only had one night in our new home.
One night? Yes, of course, Roger.
Well, Mrs. Barton, in spite of the loss of your home, I think you were very fortunate. For there are things far worse than fire.
Yes, Doctor. And I can never thank you enough for breaking the bridge between the past and the present.
What are you two talking about?
Oh, nothing, darling. Nothing at all. Roger, you've been humming that all day.
Well, I like it.
But you can't carry a tune.
Oh, nonsense. I've carried this tune for 300 miles, and I'll carry it the rest of the way to California.
Oh, what a trip this is going to be. Roger,
What?
do you smell something?
Yes. Good night air.
No, I don't mean that.
Well, what's wrong with you, Janie?
Don't you smell it?
What? You mean that perfume?
Yes.
Seems familiar. What is it?
Narcissus.
Narcissus?
Yes. Oh, Roger, we haven't escaped from her. She's here in this car.
Bart, it's Isabel. Think, darling. Think.
Roger. You look as though you're listening to her.
You do remember everything now. Don't you, Martin?
Yes.
Darling, we must get rid of her. She's trying to come between us.
Yes.
Oh, Roger, you mustn't listen to her.
Once she's gone, we'll be together forever, darling.
Yes. Forever.
Roger. Roger, why have you stopped the car? No. No, don't look at me like that. Roger, no. Stay away from me. You
A few hours after Jane was found strangled in the abandoned car, state police arrested Roger Barton and charged him with murder. Strangely enough, as Roger was being hanged for his crime, witnesses at the execution noticed a strange scent of perfume about the gallows. Some people said afterwards that it was Narcissus, and they remarked on the expression of joy on Roger's face as he died. And now, keeper of the book, before you close the great volume, show us the tale we tell next time. This one. Ah, yes, a weird and incredible tale of a wife who was being blackmailed because of her past. But because she did not know the identity of her blackmailer, she suffered 1,000 times over. The tale is called Out of the Past. Be sure to be with us again next time when the sound of the great gong heralds another strange and exciting tale from The Sealed Book. The Sealed Book, written by Bob Arthur and David Cogan, is produced and directed by Jock McGregor. Produced and directed by Jock McGregor. Produced and directed by Jock McGregor. The Sealed Book. Once again, the keeper of the book has opened the ponderous door to the secret vault, wherein is kept a great sealed book, in which is recorded all the secrets and mysteries of mankind through the ages. Here are tales of every kind, tales of murder, of madness, of dark deeds, strange and terrible beyond all belief. Keeper of the book, I would know what tale we tell this time. Open the great book and let us read. Slowly, the great book opens. One by one, the keeper of the book turns the pages and stops. Ah, the strange story of three people who ventured into a long-lost cavern, a cavern cursed by the ancient Aztecs, a tale called I'll Die Laughing. Here is the tale, I'll Die Laughing, as it is written in the pages of the sealed book. It begins in one of the big old houses on Nob Hill in San Francisco. John Dayton, a huge, fat, middle-aged man, is laughing at a story that Dr. Smith, his personal physician, has just told him.
Oh, say, Doc, that's a good one. I'll remember that.
You'd better remember the other things I told you, too, John.
I will, Doc, I will. Thanks for dropping in.
That's quite all right. Goodbye, John.
Goodbye.
Doctor?
Yes, dear.
What did he say? Did he think the dizzy spells you've been having were serious?
Oh, of course not. He said I'd live to be 90. He just told me to stop working so hard at the office and learn to take things easy, that's all.
You have been spending too much time at the office, John.
Well, I'm thinking of taking a vacation. A long vacation. Now, please excuse me, dear. There's someone upstairs in the study waiting to see me.
John, who is that horrible-looking old man waiting up there for you?
Well, I'll explain that later, dear. Oh, say, when Harvey gets here, send him right up the study, will you?
All right, John. Yes? Oh, Harvey, come in.
Hello, Laura. John phoned. Said he wanted to see me. Is he in?
Yes, he's upstairs now.
Laura, listen. Is it about us?
Oh, no. He doesn't suspect anything. This is about something else. He has a perfectly weird old man up there with him now who...
Yes, I know. An old prospector named Gippy Gordon.
Sent him? What do you mean?
Well, this Gordon came so I talked to him. He told me a ridiculous story about a lost Aztec treasure in a secret cave in New Mexico. I knew it was just the kind of thing that John would love, so I told Gordon to come and see John here at the house. And I warned him to be sure not to mention having spoken to me.
But why, Harvey?
I want John to decide to go looking for that treasure and to take us along.
I don't understand.
Darling, John is like a boy in many ways, but he isn't a complete fool. If he finds out about us, we'll both be out in the cold. You'd lose this lovely mansion and all the things you enjoy so, and I'd lose my job as lawyer for the John Dayton Enterprises.
Oh, I would. Tell John we love each other and that...
And live in a garret someplace on love and a crust of bread? No, Laura, it wouldn't work.
No, I suppose not. Oh, what are we going to do?
Suppose something should happen to John. An accident, say.
Harvey, you don't mean that...
Harvey, is that you?
Yes, John, I'm on my way up now.
Well, hurry up, old man. I've got something mighty interesting for you.
Right away, John.
Harvey, this is Gimpy Gordon, a prospector. Gimpy, this is Harvey Lewis, my legal advisor.
How do you do?
Howdy, Mr. Lewis.
Harvey, I've just paid Gimpy here $5,000 for a map showing the location of a buried Aztec treasure in a haunted cave.
What?
Yeah.
Better sit down on that one. Well, where is this treasure?
Well, Harvey, you've heard of the Devil's Cavern, haven't you? Tremendous cave mentioned in early historical records of the Southwest, but apparently lost for the last 300 or 400 centuries.
Why, yes, I read something about it. Supposed to have miles of winding passageways in which a man could wander for weeks without finding a way out.
That's the one. And I found it.
Well, the gist of the story is this. In 1554, a Spanish looting expedition led by a nobleman named de Mendez had acquired a great wealth of jewels and gold figurines, which de Mendez put into 3 small brass-bound chests.
I see. Go on, John.
Well, this treasure just made de Mendez greedier. A story whispered to him by an Aztec priest led him to Devil's Cave. And de Mendez and his men entered the cave only to find out they'd fallen into a trap. Well, the Aztecs attacked them, and all were killed but de Mendez. He found his way into a great central cavern about a half-mile from the entrance of the cave. And in that cavern there's a natural shaft, like a well.
The Devil's Well, that's the name of it. It bubbles and gurgles in a way to drive a man mad.
Oh, take it easy, Gimpy, take it easy. Well, Harvey, de Mendez reached this Devil's Well. And when the Aztecs closed in on him, he threw the treasure into the well and leaped in after it himself. So the priest sealed up the cave and put a curse on it.
A curse? Oh, come now, John. You don't believe in that.
Oh, it's true. It's true, Mr. Lewis. The curse was that nobody who went into the cave to get the treasure could ever get out again alive. They was doomed to die there.
I see. But you say you went into the cave and came out again alive, so it can't be much of a curse.
Oh, but it is, Mr. Lewis. It killed Pedro, my Indian, and it's still after me. I wouldn't go back there again if it was worth $1 million.
But assuming your story's true, how could anyone find their way into the cave and out again?
There's a string marking the route, Mr. Lewis. 2 months ago, me and Pedro found the entrance. We tied the string to a rock and went in, letting it unroll behind us. Took us a week, it did, to find our way to the big room where the Devil's Well is. But we made it.
Huh? And then what happened?
Well, I had a 100-foot rope and some big hooks. We fished around in the well for the chests, and by, we drew one of them up.
You actually fished up one of the treasure chests?
Yeah. It was about so long and so wide and 6 inches high. I shook it, and we could hear the jewels rattle inside of it.
Where is it now? What happened to it?
Well, when Pedro seen the chest, he grabbed for it and tried to push me into the well. Well, I ducked, and Pedro got hold of the chest when all of a sudden he fell over into the well with it.
Well, what did you do?
Oh, I run for it before the cave and the well could get me, too. I followed the string back, and I didn't stop till I was outside. But all the way, I heard Pedro calling to me for help. And now, whenever I hear the well, I hear him, too, calling to me, still calling to me.
Well, Harvey, that's the story. And making all due allowances, I think it's well worth investigating, don't you?
Say, it is an interesting yarn, John. And I think it'd be a lot of fun to look into it, whether we find any treasure or not.
Good. Then we'll do it. You and me and Laura. It'll be a vacation for all of us.
Oh, no, no.
What is it, Gimpy? What's the matter?
He looks scared to death.
The Devil's Well. I hear it again. It's calling me.
Oh, come now, Gimpy. You're letting your nerves get the better of you.
No. I hear it, I tell you. Listen.
We don't hear a thing, Gordon. It's just your imagination.
No, I hear it. I hear it.
Gimpy, help me. Save me, Gimpy.
It's there. In the well. I hear it. And Pedro's calling to me. I hear him.
Oh, nonsense.
I
It's just
hear
your
him now.
imagination,
He
Gimpy.
looks as if he's going to faint.
Gimpy,
There he is.
help me. Save me.
That's Pedro in the well. He's calling to me.
John, grab him. Good grief. He's dead.
And now to continue the story, as it is written in the sealed book. The doctor's examination showed heart failure to be the cause of Gimpy Gordon's death, not an ancient Aztec's curse. In spite of the tragedy, John Dayton went ahead with his plans with undiminished enthusiasm. Laura, his wife, protested, but Harvey added his persuasion to John's, and at last she agreed to go on the treasure hunt with them. A week later, they were ready. John's car loaded with all the necessary equipment.
Harvey, I've hardly had a chance to speak to you all week. Before John comes and we start out, you must tell me. What are you planning?
Why, Laura, darling, we're just going on a treasure hunt. An expedition from which I expect to return with a fortune.
A fortune? From a lost cave? You're not serious.
Oh, but I am. It'll be a fortune that I can claim for my own after we return. A very beautiful fortune. You, my dear.
Harvey, you don't know what you're saying.
But I do. It's the only way out. It's what I had in mind when I sent Gimpy to John in the first place. I've been thinking for a long time that John would have to have an accident.
Harvey, I'm afraid.
You mustn't be. Just leave everything to me. I'll know what to do when the time comes. And when we get back, we'll be able to be together always.
Yes, I know. But suppose someone suspects.
No one will. After all, on an expedition of this kind, accidents are bound to happen. No one will be able to prove a thing against us.
And just imagine how Gus Wilson and Duck Arnold will look when we invite them over and show them a couple of chests full of old Aztec jewelry. Their eyes will pop right out of their heads.
John, for heaven's sake, stop laughing. I can't stand it anymore.
Oh, what do you mean, stop laughing? Why, Laura, what's wrong with laughing? I like to laugh. And when I die, I hope I'll die laughing.
Well, if you don't stop it, John, I'll die.
After that, all three were silent as they drove. The afternoon of the second day, they turned off the highway and, carefully following Gimpy's chart, threaded their way through a series of narrow canyons until they reached a spot between two towering cliffs. Beside a great black rock gaped the dark mouth of a cavern. John directed the unloading of the car. Then he led the other two a few feet into the mouth of the cavern until he found there the end of a slender white string that led into the cave, losing itself in the darkness.
Look, there's the string. Well, was old Gimpy Gordon telling the truth or not?
Certainly looks as if he was.
We're not going to explore the cavern now, are we? Let's wait until morning.
Oh, nonsense, my dear. Now is as good a time as any. Harvey, you and Laura go ahead with your flashlights. Laura can carry the rope and you carry the food. And I'll bring the grappling hook.
All right, John. Ready, Laura?
Now, wait just a second. I ought to try this little special device I brought along to make sure we don't get lost.
Huh? A bottle with a sprayed top and a colorless liquid in it.
Uh-huh.
Well, I don't get it, John. What's that for?
I told you. It's to make sure we don't get lost. Now, watch. I'll spray some of the ink in this bottle on the wall of the cavern. There. Now, I've sprayed a spot on the wall. Now, shine my flashlight on it.
What? Well, I don't see a thing.
That's because the ink is a special invisible type. You see, the ink only shows up when you look at it through special glasses. Now, here, Harvey, put on these colored glasses.
All right, John.
What do you see?
Why, George, you're right. The ink has a greenish glow when you look at it through the glasses.
You see, it works. I'm going to use this bottle to spray the ink on the walls of the cave, and it'll mark the proper passage.
Oh, John, you always have to amuse yourself with something silly like that, don't you?
It isn't silly. It'll give us a double check on the right route so we can't get lost. Now, you two start. I'll bring up the rear, and every 10 feet I'll squirt a little of this stuff on the wall. Then we won't have to worry about Gimpy's string.
Uncertainly, the little party groped its way forward, through winding passageways that opened constantly into dozens of other passages. They would have been lost in no time but for the slender white string that led them ever deeper in the echoing depths. Half an hour later, they came out into a great chamber far below the surface. Huge stalactites hung from the ceiling, glistening damply in the beams of their flashlights. They advanced a little way into the underground chamber and put down the ropes and other equipment they were carrying. A low gurgling and moaning of water echoed through the cavern.
That's the sound Gimpy mentioned, Harvey. It means we've reached the Devil's Well. Look, over here.
A round opening in the floor of the cabin. Yes, this is it, all right.
John, be careful.
Don't worry about me, Laura. You stay there with our equipment if you like.
Say, water isn't gurgling anymore.
No. Oh, but Gimpy said it came and went. Must be an underground stream causing it. Say, Harvey, shine your light.
100 feet at least.
And to think there's a fortune down under that water. All right, George, before we go back, what do you say we drop the grappling hook down and see what we can find, huh?
Now?
Yeah, sure.
All right, John, I'll admit I'm kind of curious myself.
Harvey, get me the rope and the grappling hook, will you? We may bring up one of those chests the first try.
Of course, John. It won't take a second to try our luck. Laura, have you got the rope there?
Yes, right here. Harvey, you're not going to do it now?
Yes, I am. There's no sense in waiting. We'll be out of here in 30 minutes, free to live our own lives just as we wish.
Have you got that rope yet, Harvey?
It was tangled, John. I'm bringing it now. Just keep your nerve, Laura. It'll be all over in a minute.
Right.
Here's the rope, John, and the grappling hook, too.
Oh, fine. Let's give me a hand with it. Harvey, what are you doing?
Just giving you the rope, John, but not quite as you expected. Yeah. Now try to move your arms.
Well, you've bound my arms to my sides, Harvey. What's the meaning of this?
I'll tell you what it means, John. It means that you're about to die.
Die? Have you gone crazy?
You fool. Why do you think I arranged this silly treasure trip anyway?
You arranged it? Why, I arranged it.
That's what you think, but you're wrong. Old Gimpy Gordon came to me first with his ridiculous story, and I passed him on to you. I knew to give Laura and me the opportunity we needed to get rid of you.
Laura, is this true? Are you in this with Harvey, this This murder plot?
Harvey, hurry. Please hurry.
Oh, so it is true. You two brought me here to kill me. And I thought... What a joke on me.
You won't think it's a joke for long. Because in just a minute you're going down in that well, John. The story we'll tell is that you got tangled in the rope, tripped and fell in. And if anyone comes to fish out your body, John, it was an accident.
If anyone comes to fish up my body. Oh, that's a joke, Harvey. You don't know how good a joke it is. But you will. You will.
Harvey, make him stop laughing. Make him stop laughing.
Now make him stop. Goodbye, John.
Oh. He laughed when you pushed him, Harvey. He always said he'd die laughing, and he did. He did.
Laura, pull yourself together. It's all over now, do you hear? It's all over.
Yes, Harvey, I'm all right. Only let's get away from here. Let's get out of here. No!
And now to continue the story as it is written in the sealed book. Laura and Harvey, with a guilty feeling in their very souls, started back to the entrance of the cave, following always the trail of the slender white string. But their progress seemed so slow, all too slow in their hurry to get away from what they were leaving behind in the Devil's Well.
Harvey, hurry. Can't you go any faster?
No, Laura, I don't dare to. If I tried to go any faster, the string might break and then...
What is it? Why have you stopped?
Come to the end of the string.
What do you mean you can't have? We're not anywhere near the entrance yet.
The string ends here. It's tied to a piece of rock.
No, it can't end here. It must be broken. Look for the other end of it.
Oh, here's the rest of it, neatly coiled up on this ledge.
Oh.
And here's an envelope underneath it. A fresh white envelope.
It was John. It's one of John's jokes, that's it. Quick, what does it say?
Dear Laura and Harvey, for some time I've known what was going on between you two. It's time you were both taught a lesson. When old Gimpy Gordon came to me with his story, I saw my way clear to do so. And I have worked out a plan. A plan that will be in operation when you read this letter. This is my plan. As we enter the cave, I shall send you two on ahead. I shall follow and remove the string from the entrance of the cave to the point where you find this letter. After we have reached Devil's Well, I shall contrive somehow to slip away from you two, leaving you alone together.
Oh, no.
You will, of course, follow the string back toward the mouth of the cave. But when you come to the end where this letter is, you will be forced to stop.
So John planned this. He wants to kill us.
No, wait. I shall be able to find my way in and out of the cave by means of the special luminous ink which I shall spray on the walls as I go in. My colored glasses will enable me to see the ink, where your eyes will see nothing. I shall leave you alone in the cave for 12 hours. And if at the end of that time you can still stand the sight of each other, I shall cheerfully step out of the picture. For during those 12 hours, you should get well acquainted with each other's true character.
What a beast he is.
You ask why I do this. Because Dr. Smith has told me that at best, I can hope to live not more than 6 months.
No.
And under the circumstances, I don't much care what happens. My little joke on you is all the punishment I care to inflict. At least you'll always remember that a man is not a fool just because he likes to laugh a lot. Signed, John Dayton. That's all of it, Laura.
Harvey, listen. He's laughing, Harvey. He's laughing at us.
Oh, stop it, Laura. It's just your nerves. You've got to get hold of yourself, or we'll never get out of here.
We never will, Harvey. That's why John laughed when you killed him. That's why he's laughing now.
Laura, pull yourself together.
He played a joke on us, and now he's laughing.
Hey, you fool. We're going to get out of here. I tell you we are.
We're not. Never in a million years.
We are, I tell you, the same way John planned to get out. He marked the walls of the cabin with special luminous ink, didn't he? Well, those marks will lead us out, too, do you hear? They'll lead us out.
No, they won't. You have to have special glasses to see it.
Yes, but we'll go back to the well where we left the equipment and get the glasses. And then we'll be all right.
Oh, no, he won't. That's why he's laughing. Because he had the glasses in his pocket when you pushed him into Devil's Well, Harvey. He has them in his pocket now.
And that is the tale of I'll Die Laughing, as it is written in the sealed book. For days, Laura and Harvey wandered through one corridor after another, seeking the entrance of the cave. John's laughter echoed in their ears, as time and time again they ran into blank walls. Weeks later, a searching party found their bodies lying a scant 100 yards from the entrance of the cave. And now, keeper of the book, before you close the great book, show us the tale we tell next time. This one. Ah, yes. Why, this is amazing. It's the tale of a mad killer who lived alone in a great country house. That is, until 2 murderers came to live with him. A tale called Design for Death. Be sure to be with us again next time, when the sound of the great gong heralds another strange and exciting tale from The Sealed Book. The Sealed Book, written by Bob Arthur and David Cogan, is produced and directed by Jock McGregor. 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 The Sealed Book. Once again, the keeper of the book has opened the ponderous door to the secret vault, wherein is kept the great sealed book, in which is recorded all the secrets and mysteries of mankind through the ages. Here are tales of every kind, tales of murder, of madness, of dark deeds, strange and terrible beyond all belief. Keeper of the book, I would know what tale we tell this time. Open the great book and let us read. Slowly, the great book opens. One by one, the keeper of the book turns the pages and stops. The strange story of a web of death woven by fate to trap 3 unsuspecting mortals in an evil design more terrible than the mind can conceive. A tale titled Design for Death. Here is the tale, Design for Death, as it is written in the pages of the sealed book. Deep in the lonely solitude of the Maine woods, a young couple, Carl and Dora Evans, stand at the side of a narrow road, staring dazedly at the wreckage of their car in a deep gully beside the road, a wreck from which they have miraculously escaped unhurt.
Carl, I told you we shouldn't try to make the Canadian border by tonight. If you hadn't been driving so fast, you'd have been able to take that curve. Now what are we going to do? On foot here in the woods with sundown not more than a half hour away?
Dora, be quiet. I think I hear something. Listen.
Organ music.
Look, there's a path leading into the woods. There must be a house back in there someplace.
Aha. Yeah. Yes, I can see it now. And the trees. Carl, how strange.
Strange? You mean lucky. That's where we're going to stay tonight, Dora. Come on.
Carl, what'll we tell them? The people that live in the house, I mean.
We'll tell them we're brother and sister on a vacation trip, that we accidentally wrecked our car. You act as if you'd sprained your ankle, and they'll have to put us up for the night. By morning, I'll have our next move figured out.
All right, Carl. Look how big the house is. Who in the world do you suppose would live out here? So many miles from even a crossroads.
How do I know? A hermit, maybe. Here we are. Now, come on, take my arm. That's it, limp. Good.
Wait, Carl. Listen to that music. That's no radio. That must be a real organ. Strange music.
All right, so it's a real organ. What of it? I'm going to knock. Now, remember, play up your sprained ankle big. We've got to get invited to spend the night here.
All right, Carl. Here comes someone.
Oh, good afternoon. I'm afraid I wasn't expecting any callers.
We've had an accident. My sister has been hurt. May I bring her inside?
Why, of course. Come in, by all means.
Thank you. Oh, my ankle.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Here, come this way, into the library. Can you make it?
Yes, I think so.
Sit down here. You'll feel much better.
It's very kind of you, sir, if you let my sister rest here for a few hours.
My dear sir, it's almost dark. You must both stay here until morning. I insist.
Why, thank you.
No, don't thank me. I lead a very lonely life, and I'm delighted to have some company. Truly delighted.
Their host introduced himself as Mordred Vance, a recluse whose health required him to reside there in the bracing atmosphere of the pine woods. When Vance told him that he lived there alone, without servants of any kind, Carl's eyes lit up with interest. Later, when Mordred Vance had shown them to their rooms and said good night, Carl lingered for a low-voiced conversation with Dora.
Well, Dora, how do you like it?
Like what, Carl?
The setup, this house, Vance, everything. If we had to have an accident, we couldn't have picked a better spot for it.
Carl, what scheme have you in mind now?
Listen, this guy Vance is a recluse, hardly ever goes into town. He hasn't any radio, never reads the newspapers. That means there's practically no chance of us ever finding out we're running away from the police. So you and I are going to stay here as long as we can.
But will Vance want us here?
Oh, sure, he went for you in a big way. Okay, it'll be 2 or 3 days before you feel well enough to leave. And by then, he'll be hooked. We'll make him want us to stay. And look, baby, he must be rich. You saw the rugs and furniture.
Yes, and that big organ in the library. Must have cost thousands.
At least. Well, of course, he must be a bit of a crackpot to want to live here with no servants, but he's a nice, harmless one. Maybe we'll be able to cash in on him.
That night, Carl slept well. In the morning, inwardly exulting at their luck, he helped Dora downstairs. As they descended, they heard their host once again playing the organ in his library.
What funny music he plays. Last night, that weird stuff. This morning, something sounds like church.
Yeah, he's a queer dog, but he'll be easy to handle. Now remember, he likes you, so play up to him.
Yes, I will. Good morning, Mr. Vance.
Oh, good morning, my dear Miss Evans. And Mr. Evans. I hope you both slept well.
Wonderfully.
Like a top.
And the ankle. Oh, I see it still pains you.
Oh, it's much better this morning, Mr. Vance. Really it is.
I'm glad of that. But you must be hungry. I fixed breakfast there on the serving wagon. Sit down and make yourselves at home.
Oh, thanks, we will. Here, Dora, let me help you.
Thank you, Carl. Aren't you going to go on playing, Mr. Vance?
No. Truth is, I was just playing to put out of my mind the tragedy which happened last night. And I drove to town for a few extra supplies.
A tragedy?
The wife of my grocer died very unexpectedly.
Oh.
I dropped in there to pay my bill, and after I'd paid it, she invited me to drink a glass of wine with her and her husband, as she always did. While we were sitting drinking and talking, she was seized by a heart attack and died inside a few minutes.
Oh, it must have been very upsetting.
Yes, the sight of death moves me deeply. But why should we talk about death on a beautiful day like this? There's something else I want to speak of, Mr. Evans. Your sister's ankle must receive rest. I'm going to insist that you stay with me several days until it's properly healed.
Well, that's very generous of you, Mr. Vance.
Generous? Not at all. You will be doing me the favor by giving me your company.
Well, when you put it that way, how can we say no, Mr. Vance?
Good. Then it's all settled. You're going to stay with me just as long as I can possibly keep you. How did you like that, Dora?
That was lovely, Mr. Vance. You've never played like that before. So...
Romantically? I was playing like that because of you.
Because of me?
Of course. Listen to me, Dora. You've been here a week, and surely by now you must know I'm in love with you.
Yes, I guess I did know it.
I'm not a poor man, you know. I'll show you something. Come over here, Dora. Wait till I move this screen. There.
What? There's a safe behind it.
Yes. Now watch. I shall open it and you shall see. There. Now this cash box. Look, my dear.
What? It's full of money.
Yes. $50,000 in $100 bills. My emergency fund. Now, I'll put it away now. I just wanted to show you that I'm not penniless because, Dora, I want you to marry me.
Marry you? You must give me a little time to think about it, Mr. Vance.
Of course, my dear, by all means. Give me your answer tomorrow, but only remember, I'll not let you say no.
And now to continue the story, as it is written in the sealed book. Not knowing that Dora is really Carl's wife, Mordred Vance, a rich recluse, asked Dora to marry him. Carl, for reasons of his own, was annoyed with Dora for not accepting Vance at once.
He showed you $50,000 and asked you to marry him, and you said you'd think it over.
But, Carl, I'm your wife, just because he thinks I'm your sister.
I know. But don't you see, if he thought you were going to marry him, we could stay here indefinitely?
I didn't think of that.
So you're going down and tell him you've decided to... Now, wait.
What is it, Carl?
I have a better idea. We need that $50,000. It would fix us up for life.
What are you getting at?
Listen, Dora. Not a soul knows we're here outside the three of us. If Vance were dead, no one would know we'd ever been here.
You mean kill him? And take the money?
Yes, I do.
Oh, no, Carl. We've never killed anyone.
Don't be a sap. It'd be a cinch. Now we're going back downstairs. To put him off his guard, you're going to tell him you'll marry him. Then tonight, after he's asleep, I'll make sure he never wakes up.
Obedient to Carl's instructions, Dora has told Mordred Vance that she will marry him. As Vance proposes a toast to their future happiness...
And now we'll drink a toast to... What's that?
There's someone at the front door.
But I'm not expecting anyone. Who in the world can it be?
Mordred? Mordred, where are you?
Justina.
Oh, here you are.
Why didn't you come to the door?
I was just going to. I have guests.
Yes, so I see. And who are they?
Very dear friends of mine. Miss Evans, Mr. Evans, my sister Justina.
How do you do?
How do you do?
How do you do? Mordred, I'm surprised.
Surprised at what?
You know perfectly well.
But Justina...
Let's not argue before your guests.
No, of course not. Dora, Carl, will you excuse me? I haven't seen Justina in several months. We have some family matters to talk over.
Of course. We'll go on up to our rooms.
Yes, it's just about time to turn in anyway.
I'll see you in the morning. Good night, Dora.
Good night.
Good night, Carl.
Good night. Good night, Miss
Good night,
Vance.
Miss Vance.
Well, so you've forgotten your promise, have you, Mordred?
What promise?
You know perfectly well the conditions on which the family agreed that you could live out here in the woods, Mordred. No visitors, no trips, complete isolation.
I think I should tell you, Justina, that Miss Evans has done me the honor to agree to marry me.
Oh, she has she? Well, I'll fix that.
Justina, you shall not interfere.
Mordred, if they don't leave the first thing in the morning, this whole arrangement is canceled. Much as the family will regret it, we'll have to see that you go to an asylum.
I'm perfectly well now, Justina. Just what brought you here anyway?
An impulse brought me. I suddenly got to wondering about you, and I drove up here to see how things were. Just in time, too, apparently.
I see. You just happened to drive up here. Very well, then. They shall go. I suppose you plan to stay all night.
Yes, I do. I'll stay until after they've gone.
Then you can have the front room. You look tired. Would you have a drink of wine with me before you go up?
Well, perhaps. A small glass, please.
Splendid. I know you have my interest at heart, Justina, so we'll drink to our continued friendship.
But as Mordred Vance went to fetch a bottle of wine, Dora and Carl were talking upstairs, for they had lingered outside the closed door of the library long enough to hear what passed between Mordred and his sister Justina.
She threatened to send him to an asylum. Carl, he's mentally unbalanced.
Yes, that would explain everything. He's living here in such isolation, seeing no one.
It's his family's way of keeping him out of trouble.
Oh, he's probably perfectly harmless.
Well, anyway, we're going in the morning. And I'm glad it turned out this way.
Well, there's no point in staying any longer. Now that his sister has seen us, it would be too risky to try our little scheme. Oh, in the morning we'll be on our way.
Relieved, Dora went to bed. Just as she fell asleep, she heard the sound of music from downstairs. Wild, strange music. She listened a moment, but she was used to hearing the organ play now, and it did not disturb her sleep. In the morning, when she and Carl descended, their host was again playing, as he had been the first morning after their arrival. Curious music, almost unearthly in quality. But he stopped as they entered the library.
Oh, good morning. I hope you slept well.
Yes, very well.
How is your sister this morning?
Oh, the truth is, my sister and I quarreled last night.
Quarreled?
We both have violent tempers, and, well, the argument brought on a heart attack, and my sister...
A heart attack?
Yes. Her heart has been weak for years. Before I could go for a doctor, she was gone.
Gone? You mean dead?
Yes, Dora. She died just after I got her upstairs to her room.
Oh, how horrible.
But what are you going to do?
Do? What is there to do?
I mean, you're going to call a doctor, notify the authorities.
No, I don't think I shall.
You mean you're going to do nothing?
Dora, my dear, listen to me. We must be married at once. We'll go away together. You, Carl, shall keep us company. When we're far away, then there'll be plenty of time for letting people know about Justina.
Oh, no, I couldn't. I've changed my mind. I can't marry you.
You've changed your mind?
Dora, be sensible.
No, I'm sorry, but I just can't. We're leaving today, Carl.
Why, Dora, I love you very much. I couldn't let you leave me.
Of course we're not leaving.
Dora, dear, please. Wait at least until tomorrow before you make up your mind definitely. That's not much to ask, is it?
Of course it isn't. She'll think it over, at least until tomorrow.
Why, Carl? Why can't we go today? Why must we wait?
Dora, listen, I have a new plan. His sister is dead. Her heart attack was a stroke of luck for us. Now we can go ahead as we planned.
You mean...
Yes, we'll arrange it to look like a suicide. When their bodies are found, the authorities will think he killed himself in grief.
Oh, I don't like it.
It'll work perfectly, I tell you. And we need that money.
Something will go wrong, I know it.
Nothing can go wrong. Now, here's how we'll work it. I have my gun
Carl,
here.
listen.
What is it?
He's playing that awful music
Now,
again.
what of it?
It frightens me. I don't know why. It's just so strange.
Oh, forget about it. Now, just before it gets dark, we'll go down and I'll step up close to him and then...
And now to continue the story as it is written in the sealed book. In spite of Dora's forebodings, Carl is going ahead with his plan for murdering Mordred Vance and getting his money. Just as it was getting dusk that evening, Carl and Dora entered the library to find Vance sitting in his easy chair with a decanter of wine and glasses beside him.
Oh, there you are. I was just wondering what happened to you.
We were just out for a little stroll.
Then you must be tired. Here, let me pour you both some wine.
I don't think I want any.
Of course you do. Here you are.
In a moment. There's something I want to talk about first.
Oh, indeed? What is it, Carl?
He's dead.
Yes, and it couldn't have been neater either. Now I'll clean my fingerprints off the gun. Then I'll put his fingerprints on it like this. And with the gun on the floor here beside the chair and his hand dangling over the chair arm, it's a perfect case of suicide.
Please hurry, Carl. I want to get out of here.
Yes, of course. We can use that wine now. You need a drink, and so do I.
Yes, I do. Thanks.
That helps. But now let's get that safe open. Over here behind the screen, isn't it?
Yes, that's it.
Yes, here it is. I hope you were smart enough to notice the combination when he opened it for you.
Yes, I did. I'll open it. There.
Good. Now, let's see what we've got.
The money was in that cash box.
Right. There we are. Did you ever see a prettier sight?
Just take the money and go, please, Carl.
Don't be in such a hurry. Let's see what's in this other box. That's funny.
What's in it?
Just a bunch of old newspaper clippings. Some of them are so old they've turned yellow. Good heavens.
What is it, Carl?
They're all clippings about murders.
Oh, what does it matter, Carl? I really don't feel well. Can't we go now?
Just a moment. Look at this headline.
Local organist sought for murder.
Santa Barbara, California, June 17th, 1935. Maxwell Vanning, organist, is being hunted by local authorities following the death of a choir singer from apparent heart failure. The police, becoming suspicious, searched Vanning's apartment and have found a bottle of rare poison whose symptoms duplicate those of heart failure.
What does that mean, Carl?
I don't know. Here are 8 more clippings covering a period of about 10 years. Every one about a murder by apparent heart failure. And every one committed by an organist whose initials were MV.
Mordred Vance!
That's the only possible explanation. He was a homicidal maniac. Why, Dora, we've been here for more than a week. He might have killed us, too.
He was going to, Carl. He was going to. I know it. Didn't you hear that music he was playing this afternoon?
What about it?
The first evening we came here, he was playing it. And that night he went to town, and you remember he said that while he was in town, his grocer's wife had a glass of wine with him and died of heart failure.
Yes, you're right. He killed her.
And then last night, after his sister arrived, he was playing that music again. And this morning, his sister was dead of heart failure.
Yes, and several of these clippings mention weird organ music heard before the bodies were discovered.
Of course. And this afternoon, he was playing that same music again. That means he was planning to kill us. Us, Carl, because we were going away.
You're right. Let's get out of here quick.
Carl, I feel sick.
Well, it's because you're upset. Come on, the fresh air will fix you up fine.
No, I can't move.
Well, here, I'll help. Something is wrong with me. Are you hurt?
Carl, we've been poisoned.
No, that's not possible.
It is. The wine. The wine he tried to get us to drink just before you killed him.
But we refused.
Yes, but we drank it afterward.
Yes, we did.
And it was poisoned, Carl. Don't you see? That's how he planned to kill it. And he's done it. He's done it.
That's funny. We planned to kill him, and he planned to kill us. And we both succeeded.
And that is the story of the strange and incredible web woven by fate, as the tale is written here in the sealed book. 2 murderers, each seeking a victim, met, and so brought about each other's downfall. Twisted indeed are the strands of fate in which destiny entangles mere mortals. And now, keeper of the book, before you close the great volume, show us the tale we tell next time. This one, yes, a tale of 2 men who tried to drive an old woman insane by turning themselves into ghosts while they were still alive, and of the strange and terrible success that crowned their efforts. The tale is called The Ghost Makers. Be sure to be with us again next time, when the sound of the great gong heralds another strange and exciting tale from The Sealed Book. The Sealed Book, written by Bob Arthur and David Cogan, is produced and directed by Jock McGregor. 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 The Sealed Book. Once again, the keeper of the book has opened the ponderous door to the secret vault, wherein is kept the great sealed book, in which is recorded all the secrets and mysteries of mankind through the ages. Here are tales of every kind, tales of murder, of madness, of dark deeds, strange and terrible beyond all belief. Keeper of the book, I would know what tale we tell this time. Open the great book and let us read. Slowly, the great book opens. One by one, the keeper of the book turns the pages and stops. The strange story of a beautiful young actress who tried the most difficult role of her life when she impersonated death to win a prize of millions of dollars. A tale titled Death Rings Down the Curtain. And here is the tale, Death Rings Down the Curtain, as it is written in the pages of the sealed book. In the darkened bedroom of Martha Richards, a room where the blinds are always shut, young Dr. Smith is listening intently through his stethoscope to the laboring heart of his elderly, crotchety patient.
Well, how much longer are you going to keep thumping me with that stethoscope, you old quack?
I've finished examining you now.
Well, don't just stand there without saying a word. How am I? How much time have I got left?
Well, that's difficult to say. If you will avoid all excitement, I think I can say a year, possibly 2.
A year, possibly 2.
Yes, but only if you do as I say. Now, there's no reason at all why you should insist on remaining in this darkened bedroom month after month. Why, it's been a year since you've been out of this room.
Oh, you're going to start on that again.
And what's more, Mrs. Richards, this living in utter seclusion is bad for your health. You should leave this room and see people.
No, Doctor, no. I won't have my maid pushing me around in a wheelchair, the object of everyone's pity. I prefer to remain in this room and have people think of me as I was, not as I am.
Very well. Only I can't see why you refuse to have visitors. It would give you some interest in life.
It may surprise you to know, Doctor, that I'm expecting 2 visitors, though it isn't because of anything you've said.
I'm sure it isn't.
But the way my heart is, I think it's about time I was drawing up a will. Before I do so, I want to get acquainted with my only living relatives, a niece and a nephew from my husband's side of the family.
And they're the 2 visitors you're expecting?
Yes. I haven't seen Gerald and Mildred since they were children. I'm very curious to see what they grew up to be like. I understand Mildred's an actress.
An actress? You don't mean that Millie Richards is your niece, do you?
Yes. Have you heard of her?
Of course. Everyone has. She's one of Broadway's leading actresses. I saw her in a play recently and thought she was excellent.
Probably drinks and smokes and's been married 3 or 4 times. And her brother Gerald is probably an heir-to-wheel who's never worked a day in his life.
Aren't you being a bit unfair, judging the 2 of them before you've even seen them?
That remains to be seen, Doctor. Before I draw up my will, I intend to learn everything about them. I'll give them both every opportunity to prove they're worthy of part of the Richards' fortune.
When do you expect them?
Well, they said they'd be here in time for dinner, which means they should be on their way here now.
How's the hangover, brother dear? Painful, I hope.
What am I doing in this car? Where are we going?
Have you forgotten, darling? This is the day we were invited to visit Aunt Martha.
Oh.
You remember dear old Aunt Martha. She's the one with all that lovely money.
Oh, save it, will you? I'm in no mood for your witticisms.
Considering that I spent half of last night looking for you under nightclub tables, Gerald, you might be a little more grateful.
Oh, my head. What a night.
Yes, wasn't it, darling? Every place I went looking for you, they gave me IOUs you'd left behind. Exactly how much do you owe around town?
$11,000. Millie, you gotta help me. If I don't pay up soon, I'll be in real trouble.
What exactly am I supposed to do?
You've got to lend me enough money to hold off my creditors.
Lend you money? You may not know it, brother dear, but I'm far deeper in debt than you are.
But you were getting $1,000 a week as the lead in Let Us Be Merry. How can you possibly be in debt?
It's all very simple, darling. I was getting $1,000 a week and spending $2,000 a week.
Well, that makes everything just perfect. Both of us so deeply in debt, we probably don't dare go back to town.
Perhaps after our visit to Aunt Martha, we will be able to go back to town.
What do you mean by that?
Why do you think Aunt Martha sent us an invitation to visit her?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Aunt Martha's getting on in years, and unless I'm very much mistaken, she's decided to draw up a will. Naturally, before doing so, she wants to see what her only living relatives are like.
Millie, do you really think she'll leave us some money?
If we play our cards right, all we've got to do is convince Aunt Martha that we deserve it.
And how are we going to do that?
By showing her that we're lovable, simple, and unspoiled. Gerald, do you remember the ingenue role I played in I Dream of Love?
Yes, of course. You weren't half bad.
Half bad? Why, I was superb. The critics were mad about me. How dare you say I was only half bad?
All right. You were superb. What about it?
I think I shall play that role for Aunt Martha. Just a simple, unsophisticated girl, untouched by success.
How am I supposed to behave? I'm no actor.
You just play the strong, silent type, Gerald, and leave all the talking to me. And when the curtain rings down on my special performance for Aunt Martha, the Richards' fortune will be ours. Come in. Hello, Aunt Martha.
It's us, Aunt Martha.
Oh, come in, Mildred. Gerald. Well, it's been quite a number of years since we've seen each other, hasn't it?
Yes, it has been, Aunt Martha.
I've been meaning to call on you for ever so long, Aunt Martha, but something always interfered at the last moment.
Well, what finally brought you here?
Well, when you mentioned in your letter that you were ill and would like to see us, I simply couldn't stay away. I dropped everything to come here.
I'm extremely grateful. Of course, the fact that you might possibly get an inheritance had nothing to do with it.
Why, Aunt Martha, what a thing to say.
Martha, Millie doesn't need money. Why, she's one of the finest actresses on Broadway.
So I've heard. What do you do for a living, Gerald?
Huh? What do I do?
Yes, Gerald, what do you do?
Gerald works for a Wall Street firm, Aunt Martha. Yes, he works so hard, and they pay him so little.
Well, unless I'm very much mistaken, Gerald was left quite a sizable inheritance by his father. Whatever became of that?
The inheritance?
Oh, that was lost in poor investments, Aunt Martha.
I see. Well, I'm afraid there's a good deal about you two that I don't know.
I haven't done very much. I haven't gotten very far, Aunt Martha, but Millie has really been a credit to the family name. Everyone's heard of her.
Now, see here. I want you and Millie to be my guests for a week. Frankly, I want to know what you're like before I draw up my will.
Of course, Aunt Martha. And I do hope that you'll take care of yourself so that you'll live for years and years.
Thank you, Millie. Now, I'm afraid I must ask you two to leave, as I'm a bit tired.
Why, certainly, Aunt Martha.
If we can do anything for you, please don't hesitate to ask.
Thank you.
I'm glad we're out of there. The old lady stares at a person as though she can see through him.
The room's so dark it was difficult to see her. But you can tell she won't last much longer.
Yes, but the main point is, did she fall for our little act? If you ask me, your performance hardly swept her off her feet.
Nonsense. I played my role perfectly. Just give me a week, darling, and you and I will be the sole heirs to the Richards' fortune.
And now to continue the story. Death rings down the curtain, as it is written in the sealed book. For a week, Millie and Gerald have been living with their Aunt Martha, trying to convince her that they are worthy of inheriting her great fortune. And Millie, sure that they have succeeded, is waiting for Gerald to return to tell him the news.
Hello, Millie.
Gerald, where have you been all night? I've looked everywhere for you.
I spent the night in town.
What? Well, you've been drinking.
So what?
Oh, you fool. What if Aunt Martha were to hear about it, just when everything's working out perfectly?
So everything's working out perfectly, is it?
Yes. I told you if you'd leave her to me, it would. Last night, Aunt Martha made a phone call to New York. Gerald, it was her attorney she was calling, and he's coming here tonight to draw up her will.
You don't say. Well.
Well, you don't sound very enthusiastic at being named one of Aunt Martha's heirs.
My dear Millie, it may interest you to know that the greatest performance of your career has gone for nothing.
What do you mean?
You may be able to sweep a Broadway audience off its feet, but not Aunt Martha.
Oh, why, I tell you, she believes in me utterly.
Oh, does she?
Yes, she does.
It may come as quite a shock, but while Aunt Martha was listening so devotedly to your every word, she had a private investigator in New York at work investigating.
A private investigator? You mean Aunt Martha's been checking on our past?
That's the general information I received.
Why, that double-crossing old hag.
Yes, and no doubt you can guess what she'll do when she learns that I haven't a job on Wall Street and that I gambled my inheritance away. And what do you think she'll say when she hears you were named as correspondent in 3 divorce actions and were involved in the Wainwright scandal?
Oh, I'd like to scratch out those staring eyes of hers, playing with me like a cat with a mouse.
Well, the game's up. We may as well go up to our rooms and pack.
What? Walk out on a $4 million inheritance? I should say not. There must be something we can do about it.
Yes, well, what, for example?
Well, I don't know yet. Let me think. I won't go back to the city beaten, deeply in debt. And Martha may think she's clever, but she won't beat me. Before she cuts me out of her will, I'll... Yes.
What are you planning, Millie?
Gerald, if we play our cards right, you and I will inherit the entire Richards fortune in spite of anything Aunt Martha can do. Now, listen, this is what I want you to do.
As Millie explained her idea, Gerald's face became white. But in spite of his fears, he finally agreed to do exactly as Billy asked. Then in the hours that followed, Millie locked herself in her room and practiced her aunt's signature over and over until she was finally satisfied. And that evening, as the clock struck 8, Millie and Gerald silently stole down the hall to the door of their aunt's room.
Millie, let's not go through with this. It's madness.
Be quiet, you fool. I tell you it's the only way out.
But what if we're caught? You know what that'd mean.
I tell you we won't be caught if you do exactly as I say. I've everything worked out perfectly, to the last detail. Get hold of yourself. I'm going to knock. You know exactly what you're to do.
Yes.
Come in.
Good evening, Aunt Martha.
I hope you're feeling well, Aunt Martha.
Oh, Mildred, Gerald, eh? Come in.
Thank you.
It's quite dark in here, Aunt Martha. Would you like me to turn on a light?
No, Gerald, that isn't necessary. I'm quite used to being in the dark.
Of course.
How are you feeling this evening?
Much better, thank you.
Gerald, perhaps you ought to fix Aunt Martha's pillows. She doesn't seem very comfortable.
No, you needn't bother. I'm quite comfortable, I assure you.
Gerald, fix Aunt Martha's
I can't go through with it. Do you hear? I can't.
You fool, I should have known better than to count on you.
Huh? Mildred, what's Gerald talking about?
Nothing important, Aunt Martha. Here, let me fix this pillow
I
for
tell you, I don't want
Millie,
to...
don't.
Mildred,
Millie, don't. She's suffocating.
Quiet, do you hear? You haven't got the nerve to go through with it. I have. There. I think that's enough to bring on a heart attack. How do you feel, Aunt Martha?
You're nothing but a murderess.
Oh, my heart.
Millie, is she dead?
Yes, Gerald, and not from suffocation, but from a heart attack. I told you it would work out.
I had nothing to do with it, do you hear? You murdered her, I didn't.
In the eyes of the law, Gerald, you're my accomplice, and nothing you might say can make it otherwise. We haven't time to discuss that. Aunt Martha's attorney should be here in an hour. Now, will you do as I say, or won't you?
I have no choice in the matter.
No, you're acting sensibly. Do exactly as I say, and we can't fail.
The car just stopped in front of the house. It must be Mr. Jordan, Aunt Martha's attorney.
It certainly is punctual.
Are you ready?
I need a little more shading here under my eyes.
Hurry, Millie. He'll be up here in a minute.
Gerald, I've never been late for a curtain yet, and I won't be late for this one. There. Now, help me on with Aunt Martha's bedrobe.
Right.
There. Now, how do I look, Gerald?
You look exactly like Aunt Martha. If I didn't know her body was in that closet, I'd swear you were her.
In the dim light of this room, no one can help but take me for Aunt Martha.
Yes, but what about your voice and the things you may have to know?
Just listen to this.
Don't be ridiculous, Gerald. As mistress of this house, I answer only those questions which I wish to answer, and I assure you I shall not be tripped up.
Does that convince you?
Yes, I'm convinced. Millie, quick. Get in bed. I hear someone coming.
All right, Gerald. And please stop shaking. I tell you, we can't fail. I shall give the greatest performance of my career.
And now to continue the story. Death rings down the curtain, as it is written in the sealed book. Swiftly, Millie, made up to look like her dead Aunt Martha, slips into her aunt's bed, and then, as Gerald lights a cigarette with trembling fingers, someone knocks at the door.
Come in. Good evening, Mr. Jordan. Come in, won't you?
Well, Mrs. Richards, how are you? Why, bless me, it's been over a year since I've seen you.
Really, Mr. Jordan? Has it been that long?
Certainly has. How are your eyes? Still troubling you?
My eyes? Oh, they're much better, thank you.
Well, that's fine, Mrs. Richards. Oh, by the way, this is Mr. Wilson, my secretary.
How do you do?
I'm happy to meet you, Mrs. Richards.
I don't think, Mr. Jordan, you've met my nephew, Gerald Richards. Gerald, this is my attorney, Mr. Jordan.
Well, how do you do, Mr. Richards?
Mr. Jordan, I want to have a will drawn up and signed tonight.
Tonight? Surely you can't be serious, Mrs. Richards. After all, your vast holdings require a will that will take you days to draw up.
No nonsense. I'll have none of your involved 40-page wills. All I want is a simple will dividing my entire estate equally between my nephew Gerald and my niece Mildred.
But, Mrs. Richards, there are so many other details that enter into the matter of a will. For example, we must consider
Mr. Jordan, will you do as I say, or must I get another attorney to draw up my will?
Very well, Mrs. Richards. Mr. Wilson, please draw up a will dividing the entire estate between Gerald Richards and Mildred...
Mildred Richards. She's Gerald's sister.
Yes, thank you.
I'll take care of it at once, Mr. Jordan.
You mean, Mr. Jordan, you've never heard of my niece, Mildred Richards, the Broadway actress?
Oh, you mean Millie Richards. Why, yes, of course. I've seen her in quite a number of plays.
Oh, really? What do you think of her?
Well, frankly, Mrs. Richards, I I think your niece has a tendency to overact.
Oh, you do you?
Yes, take this last play she was in, Let Us Be Merry. Now, I think she played it far too hard for comedy. I'd have preferred to see an actress like, say, Joan Walker play that role.
Well, it's only your opinion. I should like you to hear what the critics had to say about her performance. Gerald, will you please hand me Millie's scrapbook? You'll find it on my desk there.
Really, Aunt Martha, don't you think you
Please, Gerald.
Oh, very well.
I can understand criticism when it's justified, Mr. Jordan, but it seems to me you're going against my niece's huge public.
Here's Millie's scrapbook, Aunt Martha.
Thank you, Gerald. Now, just a moment, Mr. Jordan, and I'll read you what the critics had to say about Millie's performance in Let Us Be Merry.
Yes, I'd like to hear it.
Here we are. This is what Martin Walters, dramatic critic of the Evening Sentinel, had to say. Rarely in 30 years of theater going has this reviewer seen such a fine flair for comedy as was displayed last night by Millie Richards in her new hit, Let Us Be Merry, and that, Mr. Jordan, is the opinion of one of the finest critics in the country.
Well, I may be wrong, Mrs. Richards. Naturally, I was only venturing a personal opinion when I said...
I have Mrs. Richards well prepared, Mr. Jordan. I use the standard form.
Oh, yes. Let's have a look at it. Yes, it seems to be all in order.
You're sure that will, Mr. Jordan, will stand up in court?
Oh, yes. Only you'll be leaving a good many unsettled problems to your heirs.
It's quite all right. I'm sure they're capable of taking care of them. Your secretary can be one of the witnesses, can't he?
Yes, Mrs. Richards, and your maid can be the other.
Very well. Now, I'll sign first. There you are.
That's fine. Now I'll have the two witnesses sign it, and everything will be in order.
Good. I'm quite happy now that it's all settled.
You look tired, Aunt Martha.
I am, Gerald, I am. Are you finished, Mr. Jordan?
Yes, Mrs. Richards.
Good. Mary will show you and Mr. Wilson to your rooms. I'll see you in the morning. Good night.
Good night, Mrs. Richards.
Good night.
They're gone. Well, Gerald, I told you it would work.
We aren't through this yet.
Don't be a fool. The money is as good as ours. All we have to do is put Aunt Martha back in this bed. Tomorrow morning, her maid will discover her dead body, and you and I will inherit everything.
The next morning, things went exactly as Millie had foreseen. The maid found the old woman's body in her bed as if she had died in her sleep, and Dr. Smith was summoned at once. After a brief examination, he was satisfied that Martha Richards' tired heart had simply given out during the night.
I can't believe it somehow, Doctor. Aunt Martha was such a dear. It's impossible to believe she's really dead.
You mustn't feel too badly, Miss Richards. It was all over quite quickly, I'm sure. Your aunt's heart simply gave out.
But she seemed so strong and well when we left her last night. Why, when she and I were arguing, it was just like old times.
You mean you and Mrs. Richards had an argument last night?
Well, not really an argument, Doctor. They were just debating over my sister's ability as an actress.
Yes, that's all it was. I hope you won't mind, Miss Richards, but when I told your aunt, I thought that you overplayed your roles.
Oh, that's quite all right, Mr. Jordan. What did she say to that?
She almost hit the ceiling when I criticized you. She claimed that you're the finest actress in the country.
Oh, Aunt Martha was always a dear.
Strange that she should have said that, considering that she never saw Miss Richards perform.
Well, maybe she hadn't, but she pulled out a book of clippings about Miss Richards and read me what one of the critics had said about her niece.
She did what?
She read me what one of the critics had said about Miss Richards' ability as an actress.
I see. Mr. Jordan, I think your criticism of Miss Richards that she overplays is justified.
I beg your pardon. I never overplayed a role in my life.
I'm afraid, Miss Richards, that you overplayed one last night.
Last night? What do you mean?
Your Aunt Martha was an extremely proud woman. She couldn't stand to be pitied. Exactly a year ago, she became blind. And when she did, she refused to leave her room and allow people to know she'd lost her sight. Only 2 people knew her blindness, her maid and myself.
But if Mrs. Richards was blind, how could she have read me that notice last night?
She didn't, Mr. Jordan. An egomaniac actress disguised as Mrs. Richards read her own notice to you. Isn't that so, Miss Richards?
Go ahead, tell him, Millie. You're so clever. You're the greatest actress in the world. You had everything worked out to the smallest detail.
Be quiet, you fool. They can't prove a thing. No jury in the world would believe them. I'm too great an actress to be convicted of murder. Do you hear? I'll give a performance that'll sweep a jury off its feet. They'll never forgive me. They'll never convict me.
And that is the story, as it is written in the sealed book, of how an actress tried to impersonate death and failed. Millie Richards had one more opportunity to act upon the witness stand at her trial, but again she failed. For the jury found her and her brother Gerald guilty and sentenced them to life imprisonment. Strange are the secrets of the human heart and the ways of fate in trapping men and women in their own evil schemes. And now, keeper of the book, before you close the great volume, show us the tale we tell next time. This one, yes, a weird and amazing story of a wife who loved her husband too fondly, and of another wife who came from the grave. A tale titled, Till Death Do Us Part. Be sure to be with us again next time, when the sound of the great gong heralds another strange and exciting tale from the Sealed Book. The Sealed Book, written by Bob Arthur and David Cogan, is produced and directed by Jock McGregor. 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 The Sealed Book. Once again, the keeper of the book has opened the ponderous door to the secret vault, wherein is kept the great sealed book, in which is recorded all the secrets and mysteries of mankind through the ages. Here are tales of every kind, tales of murder, of madness, of dark deeds, strange and terrible beyond all belief. Keeper of the book, I would know what tale we tell this time. Open the great book and let us read. Slowly, the great book opens. One by one, the keeper of the book turns the pages and stops. Ah, the strange story of a man who hated his wife because she loved him too much, with a love that even death could not extinguish. A tale called Till Death Do Us Part. Here is the tale till death do us part, as it is written in the sealed book. The story begins in the pleasant suburban home of Chris and Blanche Werby. It is late at night, and the moonlight shining through the window shows Chris Werby tossing and turning in his sleep, suffering from a nightmare about his wife.
Chris, darling, you really must put on this jacket. It's getting chilly.
Oh, really, Blanche? I don't need it. Oh, all right. Very well.
Your wife is on the phone, Mr. Werby.
Blanche, this is the 5th time you've called me this morning.
Chris, your wife is waiting in your office for you.
Darling, it looks like rain. I brought your raincoat.
Blanche, you know there isn't a cloud in the sky. You've got to stop this coming to the office all the time.
Your wife is on the phone, Mr. Werby.
Blanche is waiting in your office for you, Chris.
Darling, I've come to drive you home. Mrs. Werby is on the phone, sir. Chris, is there something I can... Your wife waiting on the phone. Darling.
No. Why won't you leave me alone for a while? Leave me alone!
Chris, darling, wake up. You're having another nightmare.
What? Oh, Blanche.
Oh, you were having a nightmare, dear. I awakened you.
Oh, yes, I remember now. It was all so real.
Can I get you something, darling?
No, it isn't necessary.
Perhaps a glass of warm milk might help.
Please, Blanche, I don't want anything.
Well, now, don't you think you'd better see a doctor, dear? You've been having these nightmares for several weeks now.
A doctor can't help me. Blanche, we can't go on this way.
Can't go on what way? What do you mean?
I've never been able to tell you, but I will now. I can't stand living with you.
Can't stand living with me? But, Chris, I love you.
Yes, I know you love me, but it's an inhuman love. Your love is so overwhelming, it's smothering me at every step. I must have a divorce.
No, Chris. I'll never give you a divorce. For 2 years I fought to get you. Did everything to prevent your marriage to Anne Ballon. I have you now. And I'm going to keep you.
Even knowing how I feel about you?
Yes. My love for you, Chris, is greater than my pride. Oh, please, darling, let's not say any more. You'll feel better in the morning.
I'll never feel better. Not while we're together. Blanche, when I get dressed, I'm going to move to a hotel. I'm leaving you.
Darling, you're being ridiculous. Please go back to bed.
No, I can't live with you, and I won't. I'm leaving you for good.
Oh, Chris, you're funny. Oh, darling.
Your wife is outside, Chris, waiting to see you.
Oh, no, not again.
I'm afraid so, Chris.
I can't go on this way. Day after day, she phones every hour, comes down here to see me.
Well, now, perhaps you'd better see her, Chris. Maybe you can reach an amicable agreement with her.
No, not with Blanche. Martin, there's only one way out for me. I must leave town, disappear.
Leave town? What's your business?
That doesn't matter now. Nothing matters but to be free. I'm leaving the running of the business in your hands.
Yes, but where are you going?
I haven't decided yet. All I know is it's going to be someplace far away. Someplace where even Blanche can't find me.
Come in, Chris.
Hello, Tuppy. Glad you remember me.
I sure do. You were the best tackle Yale ever had outside of myself. Well, what are you doing in Texas?
Looking for a job?
Looking for a job? Are you kidding? What about that flourishing business you've got back in New York?
I've left it and everything else behind. My name is Richard Keller now.
Chris, you haven't gotten into a jam. I mean, the law isn't after you, is it?
No, Tuppy, the law isn't after me. It's a personal matter.
Oh. Well, sit down. Tell me about it.
Tuppy, I'd rather not talk about it. No, not just now.
Sure, Chris, I understand.
Well, can you give me a job as Richard Keller?
Can I give you a job? Why, this company's dying on its feet for men like you. You're hired.
Oh, this is room 313. Will you send up a waiter, please? Oh, and the morning paper. Thank you. service. Come in.
Hello, darling.
Blanche.
Yes, darling. How are you?
I changed my name. I traveled all over the West before coming here. Never told anyone where I was. How did you find me?
Oh, I love you, Chris. No matter where you went or how far it was, I'd find you.
What do you want?
Oh, I want you to come home.
No, never. I'm not coming back, and that's final.
But, Chris, I'm your wife, and I love you. Oh, just give me another chance, darling. I'll do whatever you want me to if you'll only come home.
No, it'll just be the same thing all over again.
No, it won't, dear. I'll change. Really, I will. Do you remember you objecting to my calling you every hour at the office? Well, I promise I won't anymore.
You mean that?
Yes, Chris, I do. Won't you please come home?
All right. We'll have another try at it. But this is the last time.
Oh, Chris, you'll never regret it.
Gentlemen, this is to inform you that your order of the 25th was shipped... No, I'll answer it, Miss Nelson. Hello?
Hello, darling. How are you?
Blanche! Oh, just a minute. That'll be all, Miss Nelson. We'll finish the letter later.
Yes, Mr. Worthy.
Blanche, this is the 4th time you've called this morning. The one thing you promised you wouldn't do.
But I only wanted to know if you wanted me to drive in and pick you up. Oh, I'm sorry, dear, if I've upset you.
You say that every time you call. I see now that I'll never be rid of the sound of your voice till death parts us. Death?
Please, darling, say you aren't angry with me. You know I love you. Chris.
Till death do us part. She were to die, I'd be free. Free. I could answer the phone and know it wasn't she. Hello?
Oh, darling, what happened?
We were disconnected, dear.
Oh, Chris, I thought something might have happened to you.
No, I'm all right, dear. I'm sorry I spoke so harshly to you before.
Oh, you know I don't mind, Chris. It's your nerves. You work too hard.
Yes. You know, I think I need a vacation. What do you say if you and I go away for a few days?
Oh.
Go to the seashore? Try some deep-sea fishing?
Oh, Chris, darling, it'll be wonderful.
And now to continue the story, till death do us part, as it is written in the sealed book. Having made his plans with care, Chris Werby has taken his wife Blanche to the seashore for a holiday. And in a rented motorboat with fishing tackle spread about them, they are now far out from shore. Just Chris and Blanche.
I think we're far enough out now. I'll shut off the motor. Looks like a good spot.
Oh, Chris, it's wonderful out here on the water. And I have you all to myself here.
That's what you've always wanted, isn't it, Blanche? To have me all to yourself.
Yes, darling. Oh, Chris, look. There's smoke coming out of the engine hatch. The boat is on fire.
Yes, you're right.
Flames are shooting out of the hatch. The whole boat is catching fire.
Blanche, we'll have to swim for it.
Oh.
The gasoline tank is liable to explode any second.
But, Chris, you know I can't swim, and we're a mile from shore.
I'll keep you afloat until another fishing boat comes to our rescue. I'll jump first, then you follow.
But, Chris...
It's our only chance.
Chris, I'm frightened. Someone on shore must have heard the explosion and seen the smoke. Why don't some boats come?
No boats are going to come for you, darling.
Chris, what are you saying?
When the boats do arrive, they're only going to find me.
Chris, you wouldn't let me drown.
Oh, wouldn't I? I tried to reason with you. And when that didn't work, I ran away.
Oh.
But you wouldn't let me alone. Well, this is the only way I'll ever be free of you.
You can't do it, Chris. You can't. I love you.
It's the only way I can get rid of you, so we're parting now, forever.
Oh.
This time you won't follow me.
I won't let you go. I won't.
But you will.
No.
Don't break that grip. You've been a millstone around my neck long enough. There.
Chris, don't let me drown. Save me.
This is the end, do you hear? I'm free.
I'll never leave you. Oh, Chris.
She's gone. I'm free. Free at last. Forever.
Excuse me, Chris, but there's a Miss Ballon to see you.
A Miss Ballon? Ann Ballon?
Yes.
Oh, show her in.
All right.
Ann.
Chris.
Ann, it's wonderful seeing you again. Oh, it's been 5 years.
6? You left Owensville in 1938.
6 years. Good deals happened in that time.
Yes. Oh, I've just learned that you lost Blanche a year ago, Chris. I want you to know how sorry I am.
Oh, thank you, Ann. But tell me, how's everyone in Owensville?
Well, you might have paid us a visit. Owensville is still only 100 miles away.
Well, I've always meant to return for a visit, but after the way I broke our engagement and married Blanche, I was afraid you'd
Oh,
feel...
Chris, you mustn't feel that way. I got over that long ago.
Well, how long are you in town for?
I'll have you know I am now a resident of this fair metropolis, as of yesterday. I have a job here.
Well, Ann, it's wonderful. You may not know it, but you're going to see a good deal of me. In fact, don't be surprised if I propose to you again. Mighty soon.
Oh, Chris, it's the most beautiful house a new bride ever had.
Well, if you'll carry me across the threshold, Mrs. Worthy, you can see what it looks like inside.
I should be delighted to.
Hey!
Oh, Chris, it's a lovely present. But you shouldn't have spent all that money.
What are you talking about? We're married 1 week today.
Oh, Chris, I'm so glad we found each other again at last. We're going to be so happy together.
Chris Worthy.
Why, Sidney Rand.
I thought I recognized you. How are you, Chris? Why, I haven't seen you since you left Owensville.
Good to see you, Sidney. How are the folks back home?
Oh, fine, just fine. I suppose you heard about Ann Ballon.
What can you tell me about Ann Ballon that I don't already know?
Well, I guess this will come as a shock to you, Chris, seeing you were engaged to her once. Ann died last month.
What did you say?
Ann Ballon died a month ago.
Why, that's impossible, Sidney. You're wrong.
Chris, I wouldn't joke about a thing like that. I was at the funeral myself with Sam Morris.
But that couldn't be.
It all happened so sudden. They never did find out what it was she died from. It certainly was a shock. Ann was so young and beautiful. Now she's dead.
It couldn't be. It couldn't be.
Chris, what's the matter with you? Chris, why are you so...
Dead a month. But Ann came to New York just a month ago. And she married me. She's alive, beautiful, everything I've ever wanted. Oh, Sidney's wrong. They buried someone else, another Ann Ballon. Yes, that must be it. Ann's home, waiting for me, waiting for me. Ann! Ann, where are you? Ann! Ann, answer me, Ann!
I was at the funeral myself with Sam Morris.
Sam Morris. Yes. Operator, I want to put in a long-distance call to Owensville, Pennsylvania. I'd like to speak to Sam Morris. I don't know his number, but... Hello, Sam. Sam Morris?
Yeah, speaking. Who's this?
Chris Werby. You remember me, Sam. I used to live right next
Why,
door...
of course I remember you, Chris. How are you?
Oh, fine, thank you. Sam, I want to ask you something.
Sure, what is it?
How's Ann Ballon?
Ann Ballon?
Yes.
Well, didn't you hear, Chris? She's been dead for over a month.
Are you sure?
Am I sure? I was at her funeral.
But, Sam, couldn't they have buried someone else by mistake?
Well, hardly, Chris. I saw her in the coffin just before they laid her away in the family plot. Chris! Chris! Are you there?
It couldn't be Ann they laid away. It couldn't be. There's someone else lying in the Ballon plot. Must be someone else. Must be. I'll drive out there now. I'll find out who it is.
And now to continue the story, till death do us part, as it is written in the sealed book. After driving frantically for hours, Chris has reached Owensville, his hometown, and on the outskirts of town, at the entrance to the ancient cemetery, he is arguing with the old caretaker, who has come to the door in nightshirt and trousers.
But I tell you, I have to know tonight. Can't you understand? I only want to know if a girl by the name of Ann Ballon is buried here.
Look, mister, it's almost midnight. I can't go looking through any records now. You'll have to come back in the morning.
Please. I'll give you $20 if you look it up for me now.
$20? All right, come in.
Thank you.
What'd you say that name was?
Ann Ballon.
Let's see. Yeah, here we are. B. And Ballon. Yeah. She's here. Buried in the Ballon family plot, interred June 26, Section 15, Plot 5.
Can't be. Can't be.
Yeah, what'd you say?
I must see that grave opened.
You'll have to get a court order for that, mister.
I want to see it now, tonight. I'll give you $500 to open that grave.
You must be crazy, mister. It's against the law.
Listen, I don't want the body. I merely want to look at it. Would $1,000 make it worth the risk?
$1,000?
Yes, 1,000. You'll never make it easy, 1,000. We'll be finished by dawn. Well.
$1,000, huh? All right, I'll do it. Can't have but a little more to dig.
A few more shovels full. We should reach the coffin.
Blast that moon. Anybody comes past this graveyard, they could see us.
You don't have to worry about anyone being around at 3 a.m. Keep digging.
We shouldn't be disturbing the dead. Rest in peace. That's what the minister always says.
There, I've reached it. The coffin. Quick, help me clear all this earth off it so I can open the lid.
All right. Anything to get this over with.
Hurry up. There, that's enough. All right, now hold up the lantern. I'll open it.
All right. There you are. Now go ahead.
There. It's unlocked.
Well, what are you waiting for? Go ahead and open it.
All right. Stand back a bit.
It's empty.
Yes, empty. Empty. I knew she couldn't be buried here. She's alive, do you hear? Anne's alive. Anne, where are you?
Here I am, Chris.
Oh, Anne, it's good to feel you in my arms.
Why, Chris, you act as though you never expected to see me again.
Well, there was a moment when I thought I wouldn't. You remember Sidney Rand, don't you?
Sidney Rand? Why, yes, of course.
Well, last evening as I was coming out of my office building, I bumped into her. And she started telling me all the news of Owensville. And then she told me that you'd been dead a month.
That I'd been dead a month.
Yes. And when I got home, you weren't here.
Well, darling, it was only my running out of gas that kept me from being home when you arrived.
Well, I should have known it was something like that. But I got panicky. Called Sam Morris long distance, and he, too, said you were dead. Must have gone haywire after that. For I took the first train to Owensville.
Chris, you didn't.
Yes, I'm afraid I did. Went to the cemetery where your family's buried. And there I found your grave. Yours.
Mine?
Yes. The tombstone had your name on it. Anne Bellin.
What did you do then?
I paid the caretaker to help me dig up the coffin. And when we opened it, we found it empty. Anne, what is it? Why are you laughing like that? Anne!
Chris, Anne Ballin is dead.
Anne, you don't know what you're saying. You're Anne Ballin.
No, Chris, I'm not. Look deeply into my eyes, darling. Don't you recognize me?
Recognize you?
Yes. Don't you know who I am, darling? Do you remember that day at sea? I told you I'd never leave you, remember?
No, it can't be. You're Anne. You're Anne.
Close your eyes, Chris. Just listen to my voice. Don't you recognize me, darling?
Blanche.
Yes, Blanche. Blanche in Anne's body, because mine was lost at sea.
No, it can't be. It can't be.
But it is, Chris. I couldn't come back in my own body, so I killed Anne to get this one.
You killed Anne?
Yes, Chris. And then took her body. I did it so that you and I could be together again.
No.
Forever, darling.
Together. Forever?
Yes, forever.
No.
Oh, no, I'll never leave you, darling. Never, never, never.
And that is the tale of Chris and Blanche Werby, till death do us part, as it is written in the sealed book. When Chris was sure that Blanche had indeed returned to him, even from the grave, he tried to escape by seeking death himself, throwing himself into the sea from an ocean liner. Weeks later, his body was cast up on the shore, tightly clasped in the dead arms of the body of a woman, later identified as Blanche. So they are buried now, side by side, together forever. Now, keeper of the book, before you close the great volume, show us the tale we tell next time. This one? Yes. The amazing story of a man who stole millions and then found he had to steal himself a new face so he could protect those millions. But who discovered that his new face brought with it murder and sudden death. A tale titled The Man with the Stolen Face. Be sure to be with us again next time, when the sound of the great gong heralds another strange and exciting tale from The Sealed Book. The Sealed Book, written by Bob Arthur and David Cogan, is produced and directed by Jock McGregor. The Sealed Book. Once again, the keeper of the book has opened the ponderous door to the secret vault, wherein is kept the great sealed book, in which is recorded all the secrets and mysteries of mankind through the ages. Here are tales of every kind, tales of murder, of madness, of dark deeds, strange and terrible beyond all belief. Keeper of the book, I would know what tale we tell this time. Open the great book and let us read. Slowly, the great book opens. One by one, the keeper of the book turns the pages and stops. Ah, the strange story of a wealthy man who, to enjoy the fortune he had stolen, wove a web of death around those who stood in his way. A tale titled The Man with the Stolen Face. Here is the tale, The Man with the Stolen Face, as it is written in the pages of the Sealed Book. Our story begins in the large, richly furnished office of John Harrington, famous financier. It is late afternoon, and Harrington is speaking to Matthew Briggs, his very confidential secretary.
Well, Matt, this is it. I swore I was going to retire when I had $20 million, and now I have it. I worked hard, and now I'm going to play hard.
And do your plans include me still?
No, of course they do, Matt. I couldn't get along without you.
I see. Yes, I suppose you still need someone to do your dirty work for you.
Why, Matt, what a thing to say. Now, where would you be if you hadn't hooked up with me? Executed and buried these 14 years, that's where.
I know, you don't need to remind me.
Because after all, you did kill that man, Matt. Killed him in cold blood. No, you and I belong together. You could send me to jail, but I still have carefully locked in my lawyer's safe All the evidence necessary to send you to the gallows.
Yes, I know.
Now, why don't you run along to the apartment? I think I'll sit and smoke one last cigar here in my office.
All right. I'll see you later.
Poor Matt, how he hates me. There isn't a thing he dares do about it. Well, I suppose a lot of people hate me, but I'm not going to let that worry me any. Now is the time for me to enjoy myself, and I'm going to. Fun. That's my program from now on.
Too bad that program will have to be canceled, Harrington.
Who are you?
I'm Jeremiah Cole, Harrington. You don't recognize the name, I see.
Why should I? I never heard of you before in my life.
I dare say not. But you've heard of my father, Nathan Cole.
Oh.
He gave you your first job 20 years ago.
Well, what of it?
I don't suppose you've forgotten that you got your start by cheating him out of his business.
I did nothing illegal.
You ruined my father after he'd befriended you and he died of a broken heart. I've spent 20 years trapping you, and now I'm ready to pull the noose tight.
You're crazy. There isn't a man alive who has anything on me.
I have. San Quentin.
San Quentin? What are you talking about?
When you were 19, a year before you came to the city and Dad gave you a job, you escaped from San Quentin. And you killed a guard doing it.
Nonsense. You're crazy.
Believe me, I can prove it. I've spent almost 20 years getting ready for just this moment.
What do you want?
I want $20 million.
You can't be serious. Why, that's every cent I have in the world.
You ruined my father, and I intend to ruin you. Turn over to me your entire fortune. And I'll consider that punishment enough.
No, I won't do it.
I have 2 detectives waiting now in the outer office. Do you want me to call them in?
No. No, wait. All right. I'll do it. I'll give you everything.
I thought that would be your decision. Very well. Just sign this paper. And then you...
What are you doing? Take your hands off my throat.
You fool. You think I'm the man to give up that easy? I'll show you. Yes, I have $20 million, and nobody's going to take them away from me. Nobody. Threaten me, would you? That's what happens to men who threaten John Harrington. Now I've got to get your body out of sight. Yes, of course, the vault. I haven't locked it yet. Plenty of room in it for a dead blackmailer. So, in you go. There you are. Now to close the door and set the time clock. And nobody will be able to find you before Monday. As for your detectives outside, there's a back door to this office by which I can leave. You didn't know that, did you, Mr. Cole? There's a lot of things you didn't know. And one of them is that you shouldn't try to get the better of John Harrington.
So John Harrington slipped away by means of the back door, and once safely outside, telephoned Briggs, giving Briggs instructions to meet him at his mountain lodge that night, with all the money and securities he could put his hands on. Harrington then made his way by lonely back roads to his isolated lodge in the hills, at which Briggs presently arrived to learn his employer's unfortunate plight.
But, John, what can you do? If you kill this man, Cole, I don't see how you...
You're here to help me, not to hang crepe.
All right, just tell me what you want me to do.
Then listen. We're safe here for quite a while. Nobody knows about this hideaway but you and me. We have plenty of food, and we can stay here indefinitely.
Yes, but the minute you leave here, someone will recognize you. That rugged face of yours has been in the papers and newsreels so often everybody knows it.
I'm aware of that. So, I've got to have a new face.
A new face?
Why not? I know just the man to do it. Ludwig Muller.
Muller? You mean the plastic surgery expert who was mixed up with that gang out in Chicago?
That's the one. He was given 5 years for altering the features of members of the gang. Well, he must be out now. That was 6 years ago.
Yes. Yes, I don't doubt he could do it, but...
I have it all planned out. Now, first you've got to bring Muller here with all the necessary equipment. Then you have to find someone my age and my height who's willing to become John Harrington.
Become you? Oh, that's insane. Why, even for all your money, who would trade places with you and go to the electric chair?
Don't be stupid, Matt. I tell you I have that worked out, too. Now listen. You've got to find someone my age and general build who has no wife or family, who's not wanted by the police, and has never been involved with the law in any way, who's lived an inconspicuous life and has never attracted much attention. I'll take his place and live his life. He'll take mine and become a millionaire.
But, John...
Don't argue. You find such a man and bring him here, and I'll guarantee to persuade him to make the exchange. When I make a plan, it doesn't go wrong.
And now to continue the story, as it is written in the sealed book. A week passed, then a second, and a third. Then late one evening, Briggs returned. In the car with him were two men, one large and heavy-set, like John Harrington, the other slender, pale, and nervous. Briggs ushered them to separate rooms. Then he reported to his master.
Well, Matt, who have you got to take my place?
His name is Quincy. William Quincy. I have his whole life history written down for you. Here.
Let's see. William Quincy, 39, born in Detroit, parents dead, unmarried, no police record, college education, traveling salesman, down on his luck at the moment. He seems to fit the bill. Does anybody know you brought him here?
Not a soul.
Good. Bring him in. I'll put the proposition to him.
All right. Come in, Quincy. John, this is William Quincy.
Hello, Quincy. Sit down.
Holy smoke, you're John Harrington.
That's right. Now sit down, have a cigar, and we'll get down to cases. Quincy, what would you do for $1 million?
$1 million?
I'm ready to pay that much money for someone who'll spend 10 years, maybe less, in jail in my place.
What kind of a trick are you trying to pull? Briggs told me you're wanted for 2 murders.
I'm not trying to pull any trick. I'm innocent of the California murder, and the worst I could get for killing that fellow in my office is manslaughter. He was a blackmailer, and I lost my temper. Well, is it a deal?
For $1 million? Yes. Yes, it's a deal.
Good. I'm afraid that you'll have to sell me your face as well as your time, Quincy.
Sell you my face? Oh, that's a hot one.
What's so funny about it?
Excuse me, Mr. Harrington. I've always heard that a man's face was his fortune, but I never knew mine had any market value before.
Well, it has. $1 million.
Okay. You've bought it.
Of course, you have to take my face in exchange.
Oh, sure. Sure, I understand.
Good. And a lot of things to be settled yet, but we have time for that. Matt, will you bring in Ludwig Muller?
Of course, John.
There's just one thing I want to know, Mr. Harrington.
Huh?
When I'm you, how am I going to clear myself of that California rap which you're innocent of?
Very simply. You'll take my face, but your fingerprints won't jibe with the prints on file at San Quentin.
That'll be obvious proof you're not the man.
Very clever, Mr. Harrington.
I think of every detail, Quincy, as you'll see. Oh, come in, Dr. Muller.
Dr. Muller, this is Mr. Harrington.
Please, not Dr. Muller. I have no license. I am plain Mr. Muller.
Just as you like, Mr. Muller. But sit down, please.
Thank you. Now, may I ask why I was brought here?
Just to help me and Mr. Quincy here exchange faces.
Exchange faces? But why should you wish to do such a thing?
For personal reasons. We plan to exchange identities. You could make my face look like Quincy's and his like mine, couldn't you?
Yes, of course I could, but...
Then you're going to do it. And I'm going to pay you $1 million.
$1 million? No, you cannot mean it.
I do mean it. With that much money, you can become a man of science again. You can build laboratories, experiment, become famous. All just for a simple job of plastic surgery.
Not simple, no, but... Yes, Mr. Harrington. I will do it.
Muller began work upon the two men. Day after day he worked, patiently with skilled fingers, changing their features, making the face of one into the face of the other. It was a long and difficult job, but as the time for the removal of the final bandages came closer, John Harrington was in excellent spirits.
Well, Quincy, do you feel ready to take over the role of John Harrington, millionaire?
Any time. I've practiced your walk, your signature. I even know what you like to eat. What are you going to do after you become William Quincy, Esquire? I don't suppose you'll be going back to my old hometown, Detroit, will you?
No, I hadn't planned to.
Well, take a tip from me. Don't.
What do you mean? Why not?
Well, there are people there who don't like me.
I thought Briggs said you had a perfectly clear record.
No, I have, but I quarreled with one or two people.
Huh?
Nothing legal, but, well, you wouldn't know who my friends were and who were my enemies, so on the whole, it'd be simpler just to give Detroit a wide berth.
You're talking very strangely, Quincy. What's behind it?
Not a thing. I'm just worked up, I guess. Because tomorrow we're going to see what we look like as each other.
The next day, Ludwig Muller removed the bandages from their faces and from Harrington's hands. And when he held mirrors for them to see themselves...
Good heavens!
You do not recognize yourself, huh, Mr. Harrington?
I should say not. Why, I'm almost tempted to say hello, Quincy, when I look in the mirror.
It is my finest job.
Well, I'll say it is. Personally, I like the change.
I congratulate you, Muller. We must drink a toast to your success.
Thank you.
That's a good idea. We'll drink to Harrington, safe in jail. And Quincy, adrift in the wide, dangerous world.
What the deuce
John.
Oh, hello, Matt. How do you like my new face?
Why, it's a perfect job.
We were just going to drink to it. Bring some glasses and a decanter, will you? In fact, bring the special decanter of Napoleon brandy.
Certainly. I'll get it.
Napoleon brandy, eh?
Huh.
Sounds good. Well, we'll drink to our futures. I may be going to jail for a while, but when I get out, I'm going to live high, wide, and handsome. And how about you, Mr. Harrington Quincy? Where are you headed for with my face?
Oh, I'll see what New York is like, then try Buenos Aires and Rio de Janeiro.
Here's the decanter, John.
Huh.
Shall I pour the drinks?
Yes, Matt, and one for yourself.
No, thanks. I never drink. You know that. But, now, here you are. Quincy.
Thank you.
Dr. Miller.
Thank you, thank you.
And John.
Thanks. Gentlemen, I propose a toast to our collective futures.
I'll drink to that. Come on, Doc. Bottoms up. That's smooth stuff.
Very good indeed, Mr. Harrington.
I'm glad you liked it.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I have some business to talk over with Matt. But keep the decanter and help yourself. Today is a day to cut loose.
And I'm going to cut. Pour us both another, Doc.
Sure. Come along into my office, Matt.
Yes, John.
Now sit down and let's see where we are.
I've taken care of everything I can think of. All transfers of money and stocks have been finished, except for, well, a couple of million.
I'm afraid we'll have to let those last few millions go. Too much danger trying to transfer them. But you've done well, Matt.
Thank you, John. What was that? Sounded like somebody falling. There it is again.
I rather imagine it was Quincy and Muller,
Quincy?
Matt. The poison I put in that brandy yesterday works fast.
Poison?
Of course. I only pretended to drink mine.
You mean you...
Exactly. I couldn't let them live. They knew too much.
Have you no human feelings whatever?
Not where my own skin is concerned. I propose to start my new life as William Quincy with a clean slate and no witnesses left behind me.
Oh. Does that include me too, John?
I'm afraid it does, Matt. No, don't move. I have my gun here in my pocket. See?
Yes. I see now. I've been a fool, haven't I?
I'm afraid so. You should have acted first, Matt, and killed me.
Yes, I should have. But I never had the courage.
The race is to the strong, never to the weak.
Maybe you're right, John. Maybe, but the weak sometimes win, too. This is a joke on me and on Quincy, but it's a joke on you, too, John, because... because...
Goodbye, Matt. Well, that's that. When the police find you, Matt, together with my body, the story of John Harrington will be over for good and all. But the story of William Quincy, footloose and fancy-free, is just beginning.
And now to continue the story, as it is written in the sealed book. A day later, John Harrington slipped away from the mountain hideout, leaving death in sole possession. He had no qualms and no fears. His new face was that of another man, and he became the other man. As William Quincy, he reached New York and went to the hotel where Matt Briggs had made a reservation for him by mail.
Yes, sir. Can I help you?
My name's Quincy, William Quincy. You're holding a suite for me.
Oh, yes, sir. 17E. If you'll just register.
Certainly.
And here's a letter we've been holding for you, Mr. Quincy.
A letter? Thank you. Why, it's in Matt's handwriting.
And there were two gentlemen asking for you yesterday.
Two gentlemen?
Yes, sir.
What did you tell them?
That you hadn't checked in yet, sir.
If they ask for me again, tell them I've canceled my reservations. I'm here for a vacation, and I don't want to be disturbed by anyone.
A few minutes later, John Harrington was alone in the luxurious suite Briggs had reserved for him. He stared out at New York with a scowl on his brow, fingering the letter the room clerk had given him.
Who the deuce could have been asking for me? And why in the world should Matt have written me a letter? It's postmarked the 10th. He must have written it the day before I... Well, I might as well read it. Dear John, you'll get this letter when you reach New York. By then you will be William Quincy for good and all, and Quincy will be John Harrington. I've talked with him, and he has agreed as his first act to ask your lawyer for the evidence you've been holding over my head all these years. He will destroy it. Then, at last, I will be free of you forever. The poor devil, that was his mistake. And what else did he say? And now I want to give you a word of warning. The worm has turned after all these years. I have outsmarted you at last with your own help. What in thunder does he mean? Why do you suppose Quincy was so willing to take your face and go to jail even for money? He had good reason for it. Believe me, he... who is it?
Telegram from Mr. Quincy, sir.
Telegram. Just a second. Now, let's have it.
All right, Quincy, put him up. Come on in, Rocky.
Yeah, Lefty. Well, Quincy, old pal, you don't seem very glad to see us.
What's the meaning of this? Who are you and what do you want?
Steady, Quincy. My trigger finger's itchy. Back up a little. That's better.
Who are you? What do you want?
Why, we want you, Quincy. You ought to know that.
I don't know who you are or why you're here, but you're making a mistake.
Listen to him, Rocky. He's forgotten his old pals Lefty and Rocky.
I tell you, I never saw you before in my life.
You mean you've forgotten all about it, Detroit, Quincy? How you double-crossed the boss and my kid brother 6 months ago and got them both bumped off by the cops? Well, ain't that forgetful of you?
No, you're wrong. You've got the wrong William Quincy.
Hey, Lefty, you don't suppose this could be the wrong guy, do you?
What makes you say that? You nuts?
No, but, well, it's just that this guy's voice don't sound like the way I remember Quincy's voice did.
That's right. I'm not the Quincy, you know.
Never mind the voice, Rocky. Look at the face. Could there be two guys in a world with a puss like that?
But I tell you,
He's
I'm
just trying to stall. Let him have it.
No, please! I'll give you $1 million!
Well, that takes care of that.
Yeah, that pays off for the boss and your kid brother. He should have known we'd keep looking for him till we found him.
Did you hear that stuff about $1 million? You must have been nuts to think we'd listen to guff like that from a cheap dope peddler like Bill Quincy.
Yeah, but, you know, Lefty, I'd still kind of like to know who sent us that letter, tipping us off we'd find him here at the Clark House in New York.
And so ends the tale, The Man with the Stolen Face, as it is written in the sealed book. The plot, which John Harrington had so cleverly contrived to change his identity, led him to his doom at the hands of William Quincy's enemies. Twisted indeed are the strands of fate in which destiny entangles mere mortals. And now, keeper of the book, before you close the great volume, show us the tale we tell next time. This one. Ah, yes. The tale of a handsome and mysterious man who had a strange power over people and who caused heartbreak and ruin wherever he went. A tale titled, My Beloved Must Die. Be sure to be with us again next time, when the sound of the great gong heralds another strange and exciting tale from The Sealed Book. The Sealed Book, written by Bob Arthur and David Cogan, is produced and directed by Jock McGregor. Produced and directed by Jock McGregor. Produced and directed by Jock McGregor. Produced and directed by Jock McGregor.